Hello, welcome to HITC Sport. Wages in football make me absolutely sick out my nose. And I know it does for you too. They are the best paid professions on the planet, and all they do is kick a piece of leather around the pitch. I know we all love the sport, but I'm sorry. I'm going to go through every single Euro 2020 team and find the one player who is just sickeningly overpaid. Whether he's robbing people blind in China or shaking down the gullible owners of Real Madrid, I'm going to go through them all. And let me know, what overpaid players have I missed from the list? Right, let's go. Italy, Leonardo Bonucci, £211,000. I'm going to say something that will cause most Italian football fans to choke up their lungs. What I'm going to say is akin to marching into a church and burning a Bible. But wait first, Italian legend Leonardo Bonucci is not worth the cash right now. And before Juventus fans want to obliterate my skull, let me remind you that 4 years ago, this guy ditched Juventus for AC Milan
for family reasons.
Yeah. Or was it because he effectively doubled his wage? He's since come crawling back to Juventus, but he turns 35 next season and currently pockets £211,000 per week. Let's not forget, he missed 2 months of last season with injury. Sure, he looks like a nightclub bouncer who eats stray cats for breakfast, but he's now slower than my nan and being linked with Tottenham. To put it in context, he earns twice the weekly wage of Ruben Diaz. This is like finding out that the Gambins off Geordie Shore earn more than actual pediatric surgeons. I mean, doesn't it just make you sick into your plate of cat food? By the way, let's try and hit 500,000 subscribers as soon as possible. We are nearly there. Go on. For those of you just popping into this video who haven't yet smashed the hell out of that fat red button as if you were Conor McGregor facing an old man down the pub, then just, what are you waiting for? Go and do it. And you'd be the greatest legend on planet Earth. Back into the video. Switzerland, Granit Xhaka, £100,000. Do I really need to explain this one? We know that for 5 years, Granit Xhaka has been a midfielder who's blown hot and cold for Arsenal. And when he's cold, he's got the midfield presence of a soggy JLS branded condom. Honestly, for most of his time at Arsenal, he's been about as reliable as a wet paper bag. And Gunners fans, yeah, I know they mostly act like a bunch of hormonal pregnant women, but especially when they used to see Xhaka wear the captain's armband for their club, it must have been like accidentally walking in on your morbidly obese Aunt Margaret on the toilet. You know, it just makes you sick to your bowels. So yeah, £100,000 a week. Whoever agreed to pay Xhaka those extortionate wages, they should arguably be slapped in the teeth. Turkey, Cengiz Under, £83,000. Listen, I'm not saying that Cengiz Under is a useless footballer with the end product of a melted chicken sandwich, not entirely. No, the 23-year-old Turkish winger, he clearly has some ability, but Roma clearly don't have any plans for him. Good Christ, they just loaned him out to Leicester City, and I'm pretty sure with the way Jose Mourinho sidelined both Memphis Depay and recently Steven Bergwijn, he'd clearly rather stick a toaster in his mouth than trust a winger with zero end product. So being paid £83,000 per week, he earns more than Pedro does at that club. It doesn't make sense. Wales, Aaron Ramsey, £225,000. You know what? I'm not even annoyed at this. This is one of those monster sums of money that threatens to make a mockery of the entire sport. A bit like how Jake Paul is the 3rd best boxer inside the last year, just breathing down the neck of Anthony Joshua. That kind of makes boxing look like a part-time circus, where all the clowns have just come from inhaling glue in a public toilet. Similarly, Aaron Ramsey is an injury-prone 30-year-old, mid-part bench warmer at Juventus, but somehow is able to command a flat wage of £225,000 per week. Let's not forget, the guy started just one game since early March. He scored 2 goals all season. You know what? Fair play. Considering Ryan Shawcross nearly reduced this guy to spending the rest of his days in a wheelchair, then I'm not even mad. Belgium, Eden Hazard, £416,000. I could touch on Thomas Vermaelen securing the bag as a nearly 40-year-old dying lump of organs out the back rocks of Japan, but I'm sorry, you could not look any further than Hazard's brutally ridiculous £416,000 weekly wages at Real Madrid. You pay those sort of monster wages to players rivaling for the Ballon d'Or. Lads, Hazard can't even challenge for Player of the Month anymore. Madrid fans treated Gareth Bale as some sort of mutated flop. No, Hazard is arguably the worst transfer in the history of football. The guy should be scoring 40 goals a season, not a limp and depressing 3. The man earns €13 million every year. I'm sorry, but this is nothing more than a legal Spanish bank robbery. Denmark, Martin Braithwaite, £85,000. I never understand wages like these. Martin Braithwaite's existence at Barcelona, it's a bit like walking into your dusty closet and somehow winding up in Narnia. It's so ridiculously unlikely. It's like drinking the water of a swimming pool of Mega Love and managing to leave without a yeast infection. Again, it's just how? And again, how did Martin Braithwaite manage to negotiate a contract at the new camp worth £85,000 per week? It's not monster wages, but it's still a healthy sum of cash for a guy who scores 3 penalties a season. I'd have assumed Barcelona could have offered this guy a lollipop and 3 bowls of frosted Cheerios and he'd have signed the contract. It's just a bit weird. Finland, Lukas Hradecki, £78,000. Don't get me wrong, Lukas Hradecki is a decent 31-year-old Finnish goalkeeper, but he earns a sizable £78,000 per week at Bayer Leverkusen. Just 20,000 less than Manchester United's current number 1. He's kept 7 clean sheets last season in the Bundesliga, finished 6th in the league, and conceded one of the worst own goals I've ever seen from a human being. Honestly, for 3 seconds, you look like a man who had a brain made of mashed potato and with arthritis in both knees. And yet, he's one of the best paid goalkeepers on the planet? Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he's a bit overpaid. Austria, Marko Arnautovic, £280,000. I mean, come on. Isn't this blatantly obvious? Now, if David Alaba winds up being a Hazard-style Real Madrid flop, then surely scandalous £400,000 per week wages will make this list. But for now, it's Marko Arnautovic, a man who I'm praying doesn't score another goal in Euro 2020, or I'll be eating scrambled egg off a toilet seat. Oh, won't that be fun? But listen, this is a man with undoubted talent. But I'm sorry, considering his resume over the last decade reads Werder Bremen, Stoke, West Ham, and now Shanghai Port, clearly this guy preferred fat paychecks rather than trophies. Honestly, this guy was granted a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work under Jose Mourinho during his absolute peak back in 2010. If he had just listened and matched his undoubted talent with a degree of work ethic, then I'm convinced this guy would have wound up being this generation's Eric Cantona at Old Trafford, or wound up playing for Barcelona, not playing alongside Charlie Adam and Andy Carroll. I mean, come on. Anyway, he currently earns £280,000 per week to score 7 goals a season out in China. I've never seen him play out there, but I can only assume he sleepwalks through games, probably daydreaming about the next Lambo he's going to buy at the weekend. Just a complete disgrace. Monaco, Alexander Golovin, £70,000. Okay, to be fair, surprisingly, the Russian squad aren't being paid that much at all. Good Christ, Artem Zubek scored 20 goals last season, and he's still only on 50 grand a week. So they don't really have any overpaid players. Maybe you might see Alexander Golovin. He earns a flat basic wage of £70,000 per week at Monaco. It's not a lot for a talented fielder, but come on, he's living in Monaco. Can you imagine the bonuses in those contracts? The man probably gets promised a new yacht every time he makes 3 passes in a row. Netherlands, Matthijs de Ligt, £214,000. Matthijs de Ligt has the potential to become the best defender on planet Earth. But I'm sorry, he's not playing like a guy whose basic salary is £214,000 per week, and that's before you take into the bonuses that bring it to 400 grand. The best paid centre half on planet Earth. And yet, he's been on the pitch for just 5 clean sheets all of last season for Juventus, and for a team who nervously had to squeak into 4th in Serie A. He's a good player, but so far, not a chance. In a sheep's wrinkled nutsack, is he living up to the price tag and monster wages? North Macedonia, Elif Elmas, £40,000. Next! Ukraine, Andrei Yarmolenko, £115,000. Typical West Ham. Chunks of big fat wages for an over-the-hill big name. Listen, Andrei Yarmolenko was a top player, a brilliant winger, and spanking in a screamer against the Netherlands last week. I know. Not for 1 second am I accusing him of having the first touch of a constipated old nut. No, of course not. I realise he was utterly electric for Dynamo Kiev, although a bit of a washed-up old turnip when trying and failing to replace Henrik Mkhitaryan in Borussia Dortmund. But also, he's got limbs made of shepherd's pie. He started just once in the Premier League last season, managed just 362 minutes of Premier League football, and he earns £115,000 per week. That's more than Phil Foden. Croatia, Ivan Perisic, £124,000. Ever since the 2018 World Cup, Ivan Perisic's career has blown up. Where once he was a fairly easy to ignore average Wolfsburg winger, since scoring against England in the World Cup semi-final, he's been constantly linked with Manchester United, won a treble with Bayern Munich, before coming back to force his way into the Inter Milan team to win their first Serie A since 2010. It's like Mr. Beast levels of insane career growth over a span of 3 years. But is he really worth £134,000 per week? The guy is 32 years of age and 5 goals and 5 assists in 42 games last season. I'm convinced the Chinese owners are going to instantly chuck him off what must be an eye-watering wage bill. Czech Republic, Patrick Schick, £88,000. So I guess Patrick Schick is the one who gets to live off a wonder goal at the Euros to trick big clubs into sniffing around him. This tournament's answer to Hal Robson-Kanu, who spent the summer of 2016 linked with Atletico Madrid. You know, the Champions League finalists that year? Oh, Diego Simeone must have spent the summer eating poisoned donkey meat. Anyway, calm down. Yes, Schick is a decent centre forward, whose career highlights range from that Scotland wonder strike to nearly breaking Ricegum's legs. But lads, 9 goals last season, and he earns £88,000 per week. The same wage packet that Diego Jota makes? No, he's overpaid. England, Raheem Sterling, £300,000. Listen, I like Raheem Sterling, and I'm not trying to act like the brain-dead tabloids who accused him of being a bling boy love rat because he decided to buy his mother a house. Listen, I know Big Bob from Wigan down the pub will try and tell you that Sterling is nothing more than a tap-in merchant who just waits at the back post as if he's waiting for a bus.
Oh, trust me, I'd score 20 goals a season for Man City. He's just a posh Nathan Redmond. You want some?
It's a very quick, foolproof way to find out that whoever is speaking those words probably also licks windows in their spare time before going home to romance their sister on the couch. Sterling is a frighteningly excellent winger, bordering on the fringes of world-class territory, but his performances last season were not £300,000 a week worthy. Last season he scored 10 Premier League goals, the same total as Christian Benteke. Imagine being told that last summer when you were picking fancy football players. You'd assume the other person just drank a pint of shampoo. Scotland, Che Adams, £53,000. Che Adams is a useful target man, but I'm sorry, £53,000 is quite a lot for Southampton to pay someone every week. And considering he's nothing more than a 10-goal-a-season striker, and even then I'm being very generous, then I don't know, I think that's a bit much. Poland, Wojciech Szczesny, £211,000. Listen, I'm not gonna act like an Arsenal fan who hasn't watched the game of Serie A since 1997 and to start telling you that Wojciech Szczesny is a Polish fraud with the reflexes of a broken piano. No, I'm well aware that he's rebuilt his career in Italy, good Christ. This is a man who's gone from wrestling over the goalkeeper gloves with Manuel Almunia and Lucas Fabianski to since keep the likes of Alisson Becker and Gianluigi Buffon to the bench. He's a good goalie, but £211,000 per week. One of the highest paid goalkeepers on the planet. Again, it's a bit much. Slovakia, Marek Hamšík, £272,000. Okay, to be fair, Marek Hamšík currently lives in Sweden and probably now gets paid in half-empty Petit Flou pots and bowls of Cocoa Pops. But still, I'm still reeling from his mid-30s when this passive Slovakian playmaker was recently pocketing £272,000 per week in his last season of dallying professional out in China. No, he no longer makes that wage, but I don't care. Nearly £300,000 a week to play in the Chinese leagues, to play against Chinese postmen? Ridiculous. Spain, David De Gea, £375,000. David De Gea, right now, is the most overpaid goalkeeper of all time. It's sad. I mean, don't get me wrong, back in 2017, this guy was arguably one of the greatest shot stoppers this sport had ever seen. But his career has since fallen off a map. He doesn't start for either club or country, meaning he's very quickly heading towards the pits of goalkeeping hell reserved for the likes of Joe Hart. And Manchester United have nobody to blame but themselves. In September 2019, they were the ones offering him a big fat £375,000 per week wage deal. Just a few months after his horror show at the Nou Camp. Nearly 400 grand a week for an out-of-form lump of Spanish hair gel who they were about to bench for Dean Henderson? Oh lads, think it through next time. Sweden, Victor Lindelof, £120,000. Again, sticking with the Man United theme here, this, you might think £120,000 per week is about right for a Swedish defensive star like Victor Lindelof, the first guy in a decade to dethrone Zlatan Ibrahimovic as the country's player of the year 2 years running. But still, £120,000 per week for an unsteady defensive partner of Harry Maguire. You know, the bad influence apparently. Yeah, a guy who the English press speak about as if he's a clumsy lightweight oaf. But honestly, the way they go on, some pundits would probably prefer the brilliant English leader Harry Maguire to go back to the Greek prison and share a cell with the town arsonist rather than let Lindelof infect him with his bad defensive vibes. But yeah, £120,000 per week for a guy you're wanting to replace? France, Antoine Griezmann, £382,000. Antoine Griezmann is a top player, does not deserve £382,000 per week. Those sort of wages for a guy that Lionel Messi clearly didn't want. I know his return was better for Barcelona this season. 20 goals and 12 assists in 51 matches. It's not bad, but it's not £382,000 per week worthy either. Germany, Timo Werner, £170,000. Well, this is blatantly obvious. I don't blame Chelsea for this. Last summer, Timo Werner was the most sought after striker on the planet. They were in a transfer war with Liverpool, so agreeing to pay £170,000 per week for a guy off the back of a 30-goal season in Germany, you wouldn't blame them too. It made sense. But he also scored 6 league goals last season in the Premier League, so yeah, he's overpaid. Hungary, Adam Nagy, £15,000. Okay, these aren't wages that are going to make you turn blue in the face, but still, for a struggling club like Bristol City in the Championship, desperately trying to keep their heads above League One, then paying £15,000 a week for Adam Nagy to sit in the field, that's nice. Is he really worth it? Portugal, João Moutinho, £100,000. I don't want to pick on João Moutinho because in his day, the man was a top-class international midfielder, even for Wolves. The guy was a brilliant signing, up until this season, when the entire Portuguese project has crumbled like a custard cream. The guy turns 35 in 4 months' time, his legs have clearly gone, and he just finished below Newcastle United in 13th place in the Premier League. And yet he still takes home £100,000 per week, the same wage as Phil Foden. Wolves need to get this guy off the wage bill, and fast! Anyway, that's it, fellas. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Tell me, who is the most overpaid player for your country? Let me know in the comment section below if you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.